welcome again to Benchwarmers. It is July 1st, 2020 already. Time is flying or standing still. I'm not sure which most of the time. Hope you're hanging right in there. Coming up on the show this week, our guy who covers the Northern Sun Conference, David Brown, is in to talk about the best damn Division II league in the country, and we all know it. And Elena Lanson will take you through the latest and greatest innovations in high-level bike riding from the new cycling studio at the Avera Human Performance Center. Our big guest this week is hanging out in beautiful Bismarck, North Dakota. Lee Timmerman is the sports director at KFYR Television, and we got him on the Zoom machine this week to talk about some sports stuff actually going on. LT, how are you?
Not too bad, Tom. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Just full of anxiety and dread most of the time, but
because you're not catching enough walleyes, right?
Otherwise, not bad. More bullheads than walleyes this year. Not for you, though, huh?
No, the last time I went out, Johnny Candle and I caught a ton of smallmouth bass up on Lake Sakakawea. A lot of them. We figured we should account. We think somewhere between 120 and 140 in about a day and a half.
Good grief. All right, how long have you been up in Bismarck now? Since 1989?
I started in 1989, but then I had a little bit of a gap there that you and I know very well because we worked together in the middle of that gap. And if you want to feel old, today?
No.
27 years ago when we first worked together.
When we worked together?
Yep. And then when that ended, I came back to Bismarck. And so basically I started here in 1989.
And happy birthday last week, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I looked at your little I'm Lee Timmerman, hi, hello thing, and it said you wanted to be a farmer if you weren't doing what you're doing. Is that true?
Very much true. Oldest boy of a farm family and the first grandson of a farmer. So if I wasn't doing something with my dad, I was working or helping my grandpa. And grandpa's place now is in Sioux Falls. It's the corner of the T. Ellis Road and 41st Street. So there's not much farming going on there anymore. And then my dad and my mom's place was just outside of T. I went to high school in Lenox. T didn't have a high school then.
All right, there are some things going on up in Bismarck. One thing that's not, though, what is the McQuaid's softball tournament? This is one of the biggest events of the year in North Dakota, isn't it? And it was supposed to be this past weekend, I think, but got canceled. Tell us about what happened with McQuaid's this year.
Yeah, the Sam McQuaid Senior Charity Budweiser softball tournament would have had its 45th this past weekend, as you said. Yesterday would have been, whereas we record this on a Monday, yesterday would have been championship day. Last year, I think there was 464 teams.
Yeah. It's
the largest single weekend sanctioned slow pitch softball tournament in the world. And the reason they do it is to raise money for charity. If I remember the number right, I think it was $146,000 they made for charity last year. But they just, with the fact when you have that many teams, that many umpires, that many fans coming from all across the country, into one spot in Bismarck, that's the part in today's COVID world that really makes things difficult to try to accomplish. And so they made the call to pull the plug on it and start working on next year.
Yeah, and I saw the teams had some options. If you wanted to just donate your entry fee, you could still do that and things like that. But all right, so
I'll say the U.S. Patriots, which were formerly known as the Wounded Warriors, they were going to be here this weekend. Well, on Thursday of last week, they played a fundraising doubleheader because the Larks weren't playing here in town. And so that was one of the ways that they helped raise money.
All right, but speaking of the Larks, what is the Northwoods League? This has been going on, I think, in Bismarck for years and years, right? But what is the Northwoods League, and are they playing this summer in some fashion?
Oh, there's the key thing there, in some fashion. Yeah, the Northwoods League is a summer collegiate woodbat league. It's been around forever. This is the 4th season in Bismarck for the Larks. But in order to pull this off, John Bollinger and his staff, John Bollinger is the general manager, he came up with the idea of the pod thing. You're seeing it more and more across the country now, but I don't know of anyone before John figured it out. Well, the Northwoods League has a team in Thunder Bay. Borders closed. Obviously, you can't play. Teams from Canada can't come to the U.S. So he and friends obviously took the team from Canada, moved them to Mandan, rebranded them the Mandan Flicker Tails for this summer, And then since the other wood bat leagues, or a lot of them, closed, the Cape Cod League, the Bismarck Larks team and Will Flint, their head coach, recruited more players and made 2 Bismarck teams. So we have the Bismarck Bull Moose now, the Bismarck Larks, and the Mandan Flickertails, i.e. the Thunder Bay team. And the reason that the state jumped in on it and all the CDC guidelines and everything of that, because again, they're not traveling. Those 3 teams are playing 72 games in Bismarck this summer. And so I applaud John for being aggressive and going out and making something happen when the rest of the country was going like, what are we going to do? He found a way to get it done. And now some other leagues are kind of following that footprint a little bit.
But the lack of travel is one of the factors that allows them to do this. And 3 teams, 2 towns, 1 title, I think, is their marketing pitch right now. But in any other normal year, there'd be, 27 teams in the Northwoods League?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, in a bunch of divisions spread all over the country. I mean, the West teams don't even play the East teams normally because the league is so big.
And this is good college level baseball, right?
Very good. These guys can recruit however they want, but you go from good junior college players all the way up to D1 players. The Flickertails team in Bismarck Mandan, I guess I should call them Mandan, they have 23 Division I players out of a 28-man roster. So, I mean, there's talent galore. It's a blast to watch. They're getting wood bat experience, and these college kids are just out playing, trying to get better.
So at least that's going on. That's awesome.
That
another thing that you brought up is coming up this weekend. Haven't been a lot of rodeos since like the middle of March, April, May. Most of them just got cleaned out, all the PRCA stuff. There's some starting to come back now, and Mandan Rodeo Days is this weekend, right?
Yeah, Mandan Rodeo Days is one of the kingpin, if you will, events that go around the holiday in this part of the country. The thing that I like about it is I like the history part of it. 1879 was the first year that Mandan Rodeo Days started. And it started with horsemanship / rodeo and baseball, believe it or not, back in the 1800s. 2 of the main events that are happening this weekend are the rodeo, as you mentioned, and the Bismarck Governors and the Mandan Chiefs play baseball. And so those 2 main events, there's a lot of other things that is not happening. Parades aren't happening, things of that nature. But the 2 core items in Mandan Rodeo Days that have been around forever, they're being played. In fact, the one thing I like about Mandan Rodeo Days is I think it was in Arizona, there was a rodeo that actually trademarked oldest rodeo of some form or fashion. So Mandan Rodeo Days a while back, their catchphrase was, "We're older than the oldest," because it's been around since 1879.
140 some years, right, for men.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Good luck with that haircut coming up later this week. You need it.
Yeah, getting long, isn't it?
Yeah, shaggy. All right, take care. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Coming up, we will shift gears a little bit. There are a lot of people getting around by pedal power right now. And if you are on the more competitive side, Avera's new cycling studio is worth checking out. We will take you there next. Welcome back to Benchwarmers. Have you gone out and tried to buy a bike lately? There aren't any, are there? We are in a bit of a bike boom right now, and if you are really into some serious spinning, the new cycling studio at the Avera Human Performance Center is for you. Here is Elena Lanson.
Thanks so much for chatting with us today, Derek. You guys have this beautiful cycling studio inside. How many bikes, what type of equipment do you guys have going on in there?
Sure, we've got a 9 Wahoo kicker studio. Wahoo kickers are kind of the latest and greatest in terms of indoor riders that you can actually pop your back tire off of, and then you set your chain on the sprocket of the Wahoo, and it's just like riding a regular bike. Yeah.
And you guys have software installed in every single bike?
We do. We've got a couple of large screen TVs up at the front of the room, and we use a program called Perf Pro. And then each individual station can be seen up on the screen, and as you're riding along, you can see all of your individual metrics, things like heart rate, cadence, your speed, how many watts you're pushing. So from a rider's perspective, you're getting all the meaningful data that you really want.
And you can see who you're racing up there as well?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because not only does all of your riding information show up, but the kind of the place in which you're riding. So 1st through 9th will show up, and it'll tell you whether or not you're leading the pack or if you're maybe kind of bringing up the rear, so to speak.
What type of classes do you guys offer in there?
During the course of the year, like during a typical triathlon season, that really kicks off in January, and then we'll go through August. And so much of what we do is for triathletes, and we get them ready for the upcoming triathlon season, which is typically in the summer. But then also we offer classes just for people who are interested in endurance cycling or long distance cycling. And if you're doing RAGBRAI, or if you're doing the ride across South Dakota, we get a fair number of people who come in, and we'll train for that over the winter as well.
My dad's a triathlete. He would absolutely eat that up. What type of workouts do you send those triathletes through?
There's 3 basic type of workouts that we'll do during the course of a week. And one involves shorter, faster sprints where you're only riding hard for 20 or 30 seconds, but we do a lot of them. And then there's another type of ride, which we call more of a tempo ride, where you're sustaining a fairly high level of effort, for maybe 20 to 30 minutes at a time, and we'll do that a couple of times. And then lastly, we'll just do a long, easy day where the idea or the goal is to spend time on the bike, so an hour and a half to 2 hours, building up to about 2.5 or 3 hours.
And as things start to open up with the quarantine, is there a place where people can look and find these classes online and maybe sign up? Maybe not for the triathlete ones, maybe, but just for some of the other classes?
We do keep all of our classes online, and but you would want to call us first, and then once you've actually registered for our program, then that allows you to actually go in and sign up for the classes.
Because this could be a great example of one of those low-packed workouts that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. Cycling is fantastic, low-impact exercise, and just a great way to get a workout, whether you're a triathlete or not. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the information.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you guys. Downtown David Brown is coming up next, talking everything under the sun in the Northern Sun, plus his NSIC Mt Rushmore, the top 4 athletes in the last 10 years.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. David Brown is here. I haven't seen you in like 3 months.
Same here. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Same.
Good to see you.
You as well.
Before we get to NSIC stuff, I want to talk about your vacations. First of all, this is fascinating to me that you and your wife take these fabulous vacations. Went to New York and watched Hamilton on Broadway.
That was a couple years ago,
Years ago. And then there's a cooking show with the Pioneer Woman who actually has a town somewhere that you went to?
Yeah, we went to Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Yeah. That was last year. This year, we were planning a plane trip to South Carolina. That kind of didn't work out.
All right.
We went to Omaha, though. Omaha Zoo is fantastic.
It is really good. All right, before we get to NSIC stuff, and this kind of includes some NSIC guys, but you went through every dunk, literally, that we had on our network from basketball games we had here on MidcoSN last year, put them all together, put them on social media in a little bracket showdown. What's up with that?
We are in the Sweet 16 right now with the MidcoSN Summer Jam. It's really, really cool, as Tom said. Taking all the dunks that we had this past season, we're just matching them up. We have chalk right now. It's all the top 16 seeds facing off against each other this week, and then next week we will crown a champion, and everyone decide. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, however you want to vote, the best dunk of the 2019-2020 season. Who doesn't like dunks?
It's Parker Fox. We all know who's going to win this thing.
Well, Fox is the 2 seed. Douglas Wilson's the 1 seed. We'll see. We will see.
All right. NSIC. David covers the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference for us here at Midco. Football has already decided that they're going to trim down the regular season coming up this fall. Why?
Because of a decision by the Division II President's Council. And the NSIC normally has an 11-game schedule. They play all conference opponents. D2 President's Council decided a couple months ago the maximum number of football contests this year is 10. So basically what the NSIC did is they chopped off the final week opponent. They moved week 1 to the end, so your week 1 opponent is now your week 10 or week 11 opponent, however you want to look at it. And they had to flip some home and road so each team would have a 5-5 split, 5 home, 5 road. But This is actually the third time they've had to revise the schedule because they had to revise it when St. Cloud State and Minnesota Crookston dropped their football programs way back in December. So it's been interesting at the NSIC offices trying to figure out the schedule, but they're intent on playing those 10 games.
All right, yeah, hopefully they don't have to switch from that. We will see. And then the other fall sports, they could have some postseason implications because of COVID-19?
Yeah, absolutely. It's nothing set in stone yet, but more than likely postseason tournaments, whether you're talking about, wrestling going all the way to the winter sports, possibly basketball. It depends. Nothing official yet, but the likelihood is postseason tournaments probably cut in half, and they're obviously hoping it's just a one-year thing and that they can get back to full schedules in the coming years.
It is too much
but
wait to see right
exactly. At least they're trying to do as much as they can right now, all things considered.
All right, let's talk about the Augustana saga. And we all kind of make fun of this, and we shouldn't because it's, they're trying to do the right thing. But the Vikings, are they still in the good graces of the Northern Sun? Just tell us the story of Augustana and how they were looking at Division I, but now are going to stick with Division II for the time being.
Right. Obviously, they did not receive an invitation to the Summit League. That news was announced a couple of weeks ago, but their intention is still to be a Division I athletic program. And so, yeah, it's a little weird, might be a little awkward, but everyone's also an adult in the room. Everyone at the NSIC knows Augustana's intentions. They'll accept them as a member for right now, keep them in good graces. But Augustana, this move to Division I was part of their school initiative for 2030. So in their eyes, they still have 9.5 years to get this done to move to a Division I conference. We'll see how close they are to possibly being a Summit League member in the coming years, but it kind of seems like it's the Summit League or nothing else, just because the geographical implications of another conference don't really make sense. So for now, everyone just sits back and waits and just accept reality for what it is.
Yeah, and they could and probably will reapply in the years.
Probably. It just makes the most geographical sense.
Yeah, hopefully they land on the right spot for Augustana. All right, when we come back, speaking of Augustana.
Oh boy.
When we come back, Brownies NSIC Mt Rushmore, the top 4 athletes in the entire league in the last 10 years. Welcome back to Benchwarmers. All summer we are doing our Mount Rushmore thing. We're having our MidcoSN peeps like David pick a top 4 of the best athletes of the last 10 years at the school they cover. Well, David covers 16 schools in the NSIC. There are thousands of choices. How did you get it down to 4?
In a very difficult manner, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of backlash. I'll already invite everyone who wants to respond on social media. I get it, I understand, but come on. As Tom said, I had a lot to pick from.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot of backlash after these picks. All right, let's go to the board and a football player to start. And I think you kind of took a little different approach of he was really good at Minnesota State, but what he's done beyond that.
Yeah, obviously, part of the criteria for previous ones was what you did at your school during that time. And not to say Adam Thielen wasn't great at Minnesota State. He left the school as their all-time leading receiver, but he only had 17 career touchdowns. So do his stats in the conference hold up historically? Yeah, that's still up for debate, but come on. He's the most popular athlete in NSIC history. Everyone knows his story, the $500 scholarship, working his way up, started with the Minnesota Vikings on special teams, and now he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. When you hear Adam Thielen's name, the first thought goes to Minnesota State in the NSIC. You can't not include him on the NSIC's Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely. All right, another football player from Augustana, C.J. Ham, another guy that has gone on and made his name in the NFL.
Absolutely, and similar to Adam Thielen, C.J. Ham's numbers, while good, aren't necessarily all-time great. He's 25th career in the NSIC in rushing, but obviously since then, he made the Vikings off of an open tryout. I mean, come on, it doesn't get more gritty than that. Now he's one of the best fullbacks in the entire NFL. There are other Augustana running backs who maybe had more yards than him in their respective Augustana Viking careers, but again, like Adam Thielen, C.J. Ham with the Minnesota Vikings, probably the 2 most successful NSIC football to NFL athletes that the conference has ever had.
All right, a basketball player who is at the top of Augustana's all-time scoring list, and Augie had that great run to the national championship a few years ago, Dan Jansen. Dan
Jansen's probably the biggest no-brainer if you want all things considered for this Mount Rushmore. He's Augustana's all-time leading scorer, the 2015-16 Division II Player of the Year, and he led the Vikings to the national championship that season. I mean, what else can you say? Casey Schilling could easily be on this list. He's second. He was on that national championship team, but Dan Jansen reminds me of my favorite story. I was at the Elite Eight in Texas. He hadn't missed a game in his career, got hurt during practice. Tom Billiter likes to tell the story that after he got hurt, he tried a free throw drill. They missed like 30 in a row. They didn't play with him in the Elite Eight, somehow beat Tarleton State, a team from 2 hours outside Frisco that had a ton of fans there, beat them in the Elite Eight. Dan Jansen comes back for their Final Four game, hits his first 3 shots, kind of a Willis Reed moment, and they go on to win the national championship. Dan Jansen, undoubtedly a Mount Rushmore NSIC athlete.
All right, and sticking with Augustana.
I know, 3 Augie athletes, I know, but Shantiva Ashley, I looked at it this way. She's 3rd at Augustana in scoring and 3rd in assists. Just a versatile player. People remember her from Sioux Falls Roosevelt High School, but she led the Vikings to the 2013 Final Four. That's the best an NSIC women's basketball team has done in the postseason in the last 10 years. I could have gone with a couple of Concordia athletes. MSU Moorhead's had some great athletes over the years, Jackie Volkert and Megan Hintz and Drew Sanis. Northern State, Miranda Ristow, Jill Conrad. I wanted to include a women's basketball player. Could have done another Viking, Logan O'Farrell, who's a 3-time NSIC Defensive Player of the Year, but Shantiva Ashley, for all her scoring prowess and the fact that she could distribute as well, led the Vikings to the 2013 Final Four. She is my women's basketball pick, and that is my NSIC Mount Rushmore. I know 3 Augie athletes. I know. All
right, we're going to throw it out there on social media, see how bad you get beat up. Hopefully it's brutal. Part of this is it's interesting to see who other people would pick from the other schools.
Absolutely. Could also mention Trey Ide for Augustana football. He had 13,000 career yards. He has more than 1,000 more than second place. But how do you beat out Adam Thielen and CJ Ham? Again, it's tough, but there you go.
Good to see you.
You as well.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics.
Our thanks this week to Lee Timmerman in Bismarck. He'll be busy out covering the rodeo in Mandan this weekend. Check out the Avera Human Performance Center website for more on their cycling studio that we featured this week. And thanks to David Brown. Please find him on social media and drag him around hard for his best of the NSIC choices. Have a great 4th. See you in a couple of weeks.